Hi, and welcome to the first installment of the Fire and Steel Thanksgiving Special. We're using all the ingredients you see on the screen right now. I'll teach you how to make a fantastic roasted turkey. So the first step to getting our turkey ready is to give it a quick wash. Go ahead and get it unpacked, pull out the neck bones, the giblets, save those, and toss out anything else you may happen to find stuffed inside your bird. Just a quick note about this recipe in general. This recipe is trash. Is going to be strictly for the turkey and the gravy. I know people like to stuff their turkey with dressing and stuffing and roast other vegetables with it. I disagree with that approach. I think if you want a really good, delicious turkey and a great gravy, it starts by treating it as kind of its own thing. So this entire recipe, all the steps I'm taking, are designed to creating a really delicious turkey and a really, really delicious gravy. So here I'm pulling out the neck bone and the giblets. I'm going to go ahead and set these in the bottom of the roasting pan. These are just going to add some additional flavor to the broth that's going to develop and eventually become the gravy for our turkey. So the next step is to get the pan ready for the bird. And what I'm going to be doing here is ostensibly creating scaffolding for the turkey. I don't want it to sit down inside the pan with everything else. I want it to sit above so that all the juices and fat can then run down it and it won't get soggy and waterlogged. It'll get nice and golden brown. So here, using the carrots and the celery, leaving them uncut and whole, just set them right inside. Next, I'm going to add the onions, and again, none of this is going to be eaten. It's all being sacrificed for flavor. So we're just going to half the onions, you can leave the skin on and just toss them right inside. Here I'm going to add a few good handfuls of garlic. Garlic goes really well with turkey because turkey has a gamey flavor, so the strong flavor of garlic really goes well with it. And here's the secret ingredient, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is dried cranberries. About 2 good handfuls. It's about maybe a cup and a half, sprinkled all throughout. That'll just, it's going to flavor and scent the broth and give it a really unique flavor. And what it does is it actually gets rid of the cranberry sauce that's usually on the table with turkey. Instead of having that kind of jelly out of a can or some kind of compote, the gravy itself will taste like cranberries, and it's really wonderful. So with a great foundation set up for our turkey, we'll go ahead and turn our attention to the herbs. Each type of herb will be split into 3. 1/3 is going to go in the pan to help flavor the gravy. 1/3 is going to be chopped to be rubbed under the skin, and then 1/3 will be bundled up and stuffed inside the bird. Again, the idea is we want to spread the flavor out, so we're flavoring all aspects of the turkey so that everything is delicious with every single bite. With the herbs all sorted, we'll go ahead and turn our attention to the bird. Go ahead and pick him up, get him in the pan, and then we'll begin the seasoning and dressing process. So, like with any whole roasted bird, we want to make sure we season everything. That includes the inside of the cavity. So a little bit of salt and pepper inside, and then just kind of begin stuffing it with all these flavorful cast-offs. Again, we're not going to save any of this. That's why it's all the trash cuts. So onions, celery, carrots, our herb bundle. If you watched my video on roasted chicken, this is all very similar. You can find that on the card on screen right now. With turkeys, the biggest thing is that the flavor profile is a little bit different and the bird's much larger. So here I'm just going in and hiding some garlic cloves all throughout. I should have put them in earlier, about halfway through, but I forgot. So you just kind of shove them in. And then we're gonna go ahead and dress the outside of the bird with some melted butter. This is about 1 stick worth of melted butter. Just pour it all over, rub it around. Here I'm pouring a little bit inside the cavity. This is just something that it adds fat, it adds flavor, and it gives the salt and pepper something to stick to so that it kind of adheres to the outside. So here what I'm doing is I'm actually loosening the skin up from the breast meat so that I can work the herbs underneath. You don't want to put the herbs on top because they will kind of fall off and they can also burn inside the oven. So by keeping them under the skin, you contact the meat directly so that flavor transfers really well, and you ensure that the herbs stay with the meat all the way to the plate. And with a bird as big as a turkey, with skin as thick as a turkey, you can actually, and I recommend doing so, loosen the skin up around the thighs and the drums as well. This just makes it that much easier to season. It allows you to get more flavor across more of the bird. And once you've loosened up that skin, go ahead and pour a little bit of butter underneath. Again, this is just more flavor and more fat to keep it moist. Finally, we'll go ahead and rotate the bird around so that we can get some butter as well as salt and pepper on the backside as well. And when dealing with salt and pepper for raw poultry like this, it's always best to separate it off into a small bowl, so that way you don't contaminate your main supply of seasonings. So here with the skin nice and loose, I can go ahead and just shove the herbs up underneath, and that, again, the idea is we're getting that full contact with the meat, and it keeps the herbs in place and keeps them from burning. So don't be shy, just kind of get up in there, shove your hand all the way in. And now we will begin the seasoning process. So we want to make sure we put a lot of salt and pepper on here. This is going to be the main seasoning for the bird. We don't want to have to add a lot after this, so you just want to make sure you get it in all the cracks and crevices, lift up the wings, lift up the legs, get it everywhere, and be very liberal with it. It's a large bird, and this is a fairly small turkey, so an even larger, this was a young turkey, so a large full-grown turkey will take even more salt. So here you can see I've got my aluminum roasting pan sitting on top of a much larger baking pan. This just gives it some stability so it's easier to handle. And we are going to go ahead and start the cooking process. This is going to go in the oven, 325 for about an hour and a half. So at 1.5 hours, you can see we're starting to get some brown color, not too much. We're going to go ahead and give the bird a turn. This is going to be kind of crucial. We're basically rotisserie cooking the chicken without a rotisserie. By rotating it, we promote browning on all sides, and it also helps cook evenly so that the heat penetrates from both sides, so that by the time it's cooked all the way through, the meat on top isn't completely dried out. So back in the oven, once again, 325 for an hour and a half. So here we are, this is the 3-hour mark. You can see I'm just kind of checking to see exactly how done the turkey is. It's getting there, but it still needs some more time. So we're gonna flip them back over to continue browning the skin on the top now that it's had a chance to cook from the other direction. At this point as well, I'm gonna go ahead and just baste it one more time. This is because turkeys are big, and we wanna make sure that there's enough fat to keep that meat nice and moist, and to also help encourage more browning. So back in the oven, 1 more hour. That's we're up to 4 hours now, if you're keeping track. So here you can see that the browning is looking a lot better, but I do want to give the bird enough time. You can kind of see how everything's still pretty tight, a little tough. That tells me it's not done quite yet. So again, we're going to rotate it 1 more time so that the skin on the top doesn't burn. And you can really start to see the just great broth that's starting to develop. But you can also see how this turkey does, it stays up out of the broth for the most part because of that like raft of vegetables. So just 30 minutes this time, we're up to 4.5 hours now. Got some browning on the back, we'll go ahead and rotate it back around. So we're gonna go ahead and start our gravy while the turkey rests. I like the aluminum roasting pans for this reason right here. It lets you really easily dump off all the juices and save them. So this is our wonderful turkey broth. As always, when you're making a pan sauce out of broth, go ahead and give it a taste. Again, this didn't need anything. It tasted great. So just a little bit of cornstarch slurry to thicken it up. And as always, when you're working with slurry, add it in very slowly. Add it in little by little. It doesn't hurt anything to be cautious. But if you make it too thick, you can't really take that back without sacrificing the flavor. So just keep working in small installments. Once the consistency is exactly where you like it, you're good to go. Also, make sure it has some time in between installments to keep cooking, because it won't thicken entirely until it comes back to a boil. And once you do have the consistency you like, just let it simmer for a few minutes, just to make sure that to cook off any raw cornstarch flavor. Now here I'm adding in some dried cranberries, some more, to just reinforce that cranberry flavor, because this is only going to be used for turkey. If you plan on using this gravy for mashed potatoes as well, I would recommend skipping that step. And there I just finished the sauce with about 1 tablespoon of room temperature butter, stirred in with the heat off, and then about a good 10 seconds worth of fresh black pepper. So now we're going to go ahead and get our bird carved up. Just like with a chicken, we'll go ahead and start by kind of separating off the dark meat quarters, cut the skin at the front where the legs connect to the breastbone, and then flex the legs out. Turkeys have stronger joints than chickens, so it's not going to come apart quite as easily. So you want to flex those joints, kind of dislocate the hip bone a little bit, and then find where the hip connects to the carcass, and then cut straight through it, and then cut through the skin on the backside. See from the other side, slightly better angle. Find the hip joint, slice right through, and then just cut through the meat and the skin. For the wings, make a slightly angled cut right there at the shoulder. Pull the wing away from the carcass. You'll kind of expose the joint, kind of dislocate it, and then you can get the blade right in between the socket, and then it'll pop the wing right off. For the breast, you cut straight down the middle and find the keel bone. See, that's the keel bone right there. Once the keel bone's been located, just cut straight down using the ribs as kind of a guide. So cut down and move the knife kind of along the contour of the rib cage, and then you can eventually pull the breast meat away like I'm doing here, and then just slowly make kind of like long, clean cuts straight through the breast meat until you get all the way through, and then just push down, and you can see here, separate it from the rest. For the other side, this can be a little more difficult because the carcass doesn't have any weight behind it anymore. Just be careful because you are kind of cutting towards your fingers. Here is a nice plate that we put together. We kind of had a pre-Thanksgiving at my house. Turkey breast does do really well, kind of sliced into pieces. It's a little meatier, a little more hearty than chicken. So this is how I decided to present it. And again, when you're using a full-grown turkey, this is even more true. Go ahead and ladle on some of your delicious cranberry gravy, and you are now ready to make an awesome rockstar turkey for Thanksgiving. As always, I thank you for watching. Please like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.